Monsters are dangerous, demons are terrifying, but ghosts don't always fight your body. Sometimes they fight your mind. Today we're counting down 10 video game characters who faced the supernatural and lived to tell the tale. Number 10. Simon Belmont. Castlevania series. Long before ghost hunting became popular in gaming, Simon Belmont was already doing it. The legendary vampire hunter, of course, spends much of his life battling the horrors that haunt Dracula's castle, and those horrors aren't limited to vampires. Throughout the Castlevania series, Simon faces specters, phantoms, cursed souls, and restless spirits trapped between life and death. Every corridor of Dracula's castle feels haunted. Every room hides some supernatural threat. What makes Simon special is that he never treats these encounters as extraordinary. For him, fighting ghosts is simply part of the job. Armed with the vampire killer whip, he walks directly into places most people would spend their entire lives avoiding. The dead rise around him. Ghosts emerge from darkness. Ancient curses fill the air. And Simon keeps moving forward. He isn't a scholar. He isn't a wizard. He's just a warrior, willing to face things that should not exist. And that's exactly why he belongs on this list. Number 9.
Geralt of Rivia, Damn Ugly, Witcher 3 Wild Hunt.
Few characters have fought as many ghosts as Geralt. In fact, ghost hunting is practically a profession for him. His job is doing so. Across the Witcher universe, Geralt encounters countless supernatural entities, moonwraiths, night wraiths, specters, cursed spirits, restless souls bound to tragedy, and I cannot think of any other things. I've played the game, but we have many kinds of ghosts and things like that in the game. But unlike ordinary monster hunters, Geralt understands that defeating a ghost often requires more than a sword. Many of the spirits he faces are victims, people trapped by unfinished business or something like that, people unable to move on. Sometimes defeating a ghost means uncovering the truth behind its death. Sometimes it means breaking a curse, and sometimes it means granting peace. That's what makes Geralt's encounters so memorable. He's not just fighting monsters, he's confronting stories. And God, I love that game. Every side quest has its own story. Geralt is... every ghost carries a tragedy. As I said it before. Every haunting has a cause. And Geralt stands between the living and the dead, trying to restore balance to both worlds. Number 8. Corvo, Attano. Dishonored series. The world of Dishonored is filled with death, plagues, assassinations, political conspiracies, and countless restless spirits. As Corvo navigates the dark streets of Dunwall, he constantly encounters supernatural remnants of the dead. The void itself feels like a haunted realm, a place where reality bends and forgotten souls linger, so to speak. Many of Corvo's missions take him through locations drenched in tragedy, places where the past refuses to stay buried, places where ghosts remain long after death. What makes these encounters interesting is how naturally they fit into the world. In Dishonored, the supernatural isn't hidden, it's woven into everyday life, and Corvo learns to survive in a city where the dead are often just as dangerous as the living. Number 7. Leon S. Kennedy. Resident Evil 4 Remake. When people think of Resident Evil, they usually think of zombies, but Resident Evil 4 Remake introduces something different, something closer to a ghost story. Deep within the castle sections, Leon encounters spectral knights and haunted armor, enemies that appear almost supernatural. These aren't ordinary infected villagers. These creatures feel cursed, possessed, driven by forces beyond simple biology. For a character used to fighting physical threats, these encounters create a completely and entirely different kind of tension. Bullets aren't always enough. Logic doesn't always apply, and suddenly Leon finds himself facing enemies that seem pulled directly from a nightmare. It's one of the rare moments where Resident Evil steps into gothic horror, and Leon is forced to confront something far stranger than the monsters he's used to. Number 6. Sargon, Prince of Persia, The Lost Crown. Mount Qaf is full of mysteries. Ancient powers, broken timelines, forgotten civilizations, and spirits that refuse to disappear. Throughout Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown, Sargon repeatedly encounters ghostly warriors and supernatural echoes from the past. These aren't simple enemies, they are remnants of history itself, fragments of people whose stories were never finished. Some exist outside normal time, others seem trapped between worlds. As Sargon explores deeper into Mount Qaf, the right pronunciation is Qaf, not Qaf, okay? He finds himself fighting entities that shouldn't even exist anymore. And that's what makes these encounters so fascinating. The ghosts aren't merely obstacles, they're clues. Every spirit tells part of a larger story, a story about the collapse of kingdoms, the corruption of time, and the cost of immortality. By fighting them, Sargon isn't just surviving, he's uncovering the truth. Number 5. The Tarnished, from the game Elden Ring. The Lands Between is a world haunted by the dead, not metaphorically, but literally. Almost everywhere the Tarnished travels, spirits linger, especially in those swamps. Yeah, the Death Callers, something like that. These are literal ghosts and spirits we can fight in the game. Ghostly soldiers even wander battlefields long after their wars have ended. They wander in the battlefields long after their wars have ended. That's awesome. Ancient heroes return from death to test new challenges. What the hell? Spectral warriors emerge from forgotten graves, and some of the most memorable encounters in Elden Ring involve enemies that aren't truly alive anymore. One of the best examples is the Regal Ancestor Spirit, a mysterious entity that feels less like a monster and more like a sacred ghost, ancient, silent, and almost dreamlike. Then there are the countless spectral knights, spirit summons, and phantom champions that appear throughout the game. The Tarnished spend much of their journey fighting beings trapped somewhere between life and death, and that's fitting because the Tarnished themselves exist in a world where death no longer works correctly because of some queen that stole something from a ring that something happened to the Lands Between. I'm not gonna talk about it anymore, okay? But ghosts aren't exceptions in Elden Ring. They're part of reality, which means every victory feels like a battle against history itself. Number 4. Link, from the game Legend of Zelda: Twilight Princess. Few heroes have fought as many ghosts as Link, especially in Twilight Princess. Throughout his adventure, Link encounters Poe spirits scattered across Hyrule. These wandering souls hide in dark places, abandoned ruins, graveyards, and forgotten corners of the kingdom. Unlike ordinary enemies, Poes aren't creatures you simply stumble across. They are manifestations of lingering darkness, lost souls that refuse to disappear. Tracking them becomes one of the game's most memorable side quests, but that's only part of Link's experience with the supernatural. Twilight Princess constantly blurs the line between the living and the dead. Ancient spirits guide Link. Forgotten heroes aid him. Sacred beings communicate across dimensions. That's why the game is so popular and so advanced. The entire world feels haunted by history, pure history, and through it all, Link remains calm, determined, and fearless. While most people would run from a ghost, Link sees another challenge waiting to be overcome. Number 3. The Hunter in the game, Bloodborne. Bloodborne may contain some of the most disturbing ghosts in gaming. At first glance, the enemies seem physical, monsters, beasts, madmen, but as the story unfolds, reality begins to crack. The hunter starts seeing things that shouldn't exist. Yeah, that's not such a good thing, yeah? Ghostly apparitions appear throughout Yarnum. Invisible entities reveal themselves. Ancient spirits linger within nightmare realms, and the deeper the hunter goes, the less certain reality becomes. Many enemies feel like echoes of something long dead, fragments of forgotten civilizations, remnants of eldritch experiments. The nightmare itself behaves like a haunted world, a place where souls cannot rest, a place where death provides no escape. Unlike traditional ghost stories, Bloodborne's supernatural horror isn't about jump scares, it's about dread. The feeling, curse you, Baal! I recollected my memory of fighting Baal in Elden Ring. Screw that. The feeling that something ancient is watching, something impossible to understand, and the hunter repeatedly confronts those horrors face to face. Number 2, new to the list, Jin Sakai from the game Ghosts of Tsushima. Despite the title, Ghosts of Tsushima isn't about literal ghosts most of the time, but its world is filled with supernatural legends. And by the way, your nickname is Ghost, so I put it in the list. And some of those legends become very real. Throughout the mythic tales, Jin investigates stories of cursed warriors, vengeful spirits, haunted locations, and legendary figures believed to have transcended death. Villagers whisper about ghosts. Warriors tell stories about supernatural encounters. And I think Lady Masako is a ghost too. I don't know why, but I believe that. Entire quests revolve around tracking entities that seem impossible. What makes these moments so memorable is the uncertainty. Sometimes the explanation is human, sometimes it isn't. The game constantly keeps players guessing, and that ambiguity makes every supernatural encounter feel more powerful. Jin isn't merely fighting enemies, he's confronting the fears, myths, and ghost stories that shape his culture. In many ways, those stories become just as dangerous as any sword. And number 1, which meant to be an honorable mention, but I wanted to make a top 10. So, Alan Wake from the game Alan Wake series. If there's one character who belongs at the top of this list, it's Alan Wake. His entire life becomes a battle against supernatural entities. Shadowy figures emerge from darkness. Dead people seem to return. Reality itself becomes haunted, and the line between ghost and nightmare entirely disappears. The enemies Alan faces aren't ordinary monsters, they're manifestations. Again, dark presences given form. Creatures born from fear, memory, and imagination of the developers. Some resemble ghosts and others resemble possessed humans, but all of them share one terrifying trait. They exist outside normal reality. What makes Alan's story unique is that he can't simply shoot his problems away. Before he can harm many enemies, he must first use light to strip away the darkness protecting them. Light becomes his weapon against the supernatural, a shield against forces that shouldn't exist. Throughout the series, Alan constantly questions what's real, and so does the player. That's what makes his ghostly encounters so effective. The horror isn't just what he sees, it's the possibility that reality itself is falling apart. Alan doesn't simply fight ghosts, he fights a haunted universe, and that's why he earns the #1 spot. Last time we talked about what? Characters who were betrayed by their closest friends. I like that video so much. This time we followed heroes who faced something even stranger, the dead themselves. If you haven't watched that betrayal countdown yet, check it out next. And don't forget to subscribe to Susha Prime so you won't miss any original content I publish next. Thank you all for watching and sticking with me through the end of the video. Take care and farewell.